Alright, and then live. Going live message. I'm gonna miss the smooth jazz when it's gone. Not that I think I'm gonna finish today, but it's just so chill. Alright, that should do it. Okay. So let's see, last time, all kinds of shenanigans going on. The king is dead, long live the king. All the nobles getting together. Tyrion, Celeste pulled into the ceremony. Well, not the ceremony, but the church, whatever, where it happens. To talk to the one guy who gets murdered. Yeah, there's multiple people getting murdered, but actually, are some of them dead or not? And plans within plans and all that fun stuff. And I think, yeah. So where we left off, we just got permission to represent the defense in the trial. The ancient city of Ladon. Fresh my mind here with the evidence. Got a bunch of evidence already. Remus Virgiliae, or Virgile. Seems a pretty intense guy. Arya's the defense. He seemed to have been controlled. Garrick died. To the dismay of absolutely no one. Rip. Oh yeah, the purple mark. People that have been controlled got this purple mark. Marriage meeting. Prince was trapped. The barrier was set up ahead of time. And the only person that we know of that has barrier could be dead. Is he actually dead? They found a burnt body, but was it his? Well, I assume they could probably, like, do some DNA test or something. Coraline may or may not be dead. I mean, it seems like they're both dead. But who knows? Alright. There's so much I don't know about this one. I'm not sure about. So let's continue. Tyrion, we're definitely lost. We followed the Grand General's directions to the letter. We were expecting to arrive at some sort of noble estate or convention hall. Instead, we found ourselves in the ruins of a long-forgotten city. The grass was overgrown. Moss was growing around the ruins. It looked like no one had lived here for centuries. I double-checked everything. The map even has that giant tree north of here. This can't be the city of Ladon that Virgile mentioned. Doesn't look like anyone's lived here in centuries. Wait a minute. Did he give us the wrong location on purpose? Oh, Lucio already? Grand General.
Enough gawking. The trial will commence shortly.
He wasn't alone either. A division of the Kingsguard was marching behind him, forming a perimeter around Arya. It was difficult to tell if she was their liege or their prisoner. A gray luminous sphere was centered on the prosecutor, following her as they made their way to one of the ruins. Gray luminous sphere? It had the same color as most abjuration spells. It must have been an anti-magic field. Oh. I didn't realize you could move them. So this is where we'll be hosting the trial?
Yes. The Archduke could never bring himself to stray far from this place for too long. I doubt a normal courtroom would be large enough anyway.
What?
Kingsguard, bring the prisoner to the temple. I will have words with Mr. Cuthbert. Alone. That includes you, McCoy.
I am not leaving you alone with him. Celeste, it's fine. But I can handle him. Just stay close by. You can handle Lucio Steelwind. Alright. Yeah, I see nothing wrong with that. Her jaw tightened as she shifted around uneasily. Nevertheless, she stepped aside without any objections.
No wonder she's so insubordinate. Keep such a loose leash around her.
What do you want, Lucio?
The Archduke allowed you to serve as Prosecutor Steelwind's attorney. Why?
I guess I earned his trust somehow.
Cuthbert, do you remember what I told you after Dracogen's trial? Now going to be my agent.
What?
There will come a day when I will require your skills and abilities. The Eye of Radiance is too powerful a weapon for me to squander. I imagine it will be of great use to me. You will now be acting on my orders.
If you think I'd even consider throwing the trial for...
I will come at you with everything I have. Use your Eye of Radiance. Use every trick Tymora taught you. No matter who lies before you, cut them down. I will not accept victory without a proper fight from you.
So what is this to you? Some kind of duel? Your daughter's life hangs in the balance, Lucio.
Follow my orders, or I'll have you executed.
I just glared at him as he made his way to the temple. I don't know, I feel like that's probably Lucio's way of looking out for his daughter. Like, you better do a good job. You better beat me. I'm gonna kill you. So noisy. Wait a minute. Why are there so many people in the stands? I thought we moved here to have a really private trial. Oh my. The ruins were filled with the nobles who were at the Grand Cathedral that day. Oh. It would help if I read before I talk. This temple was ancient. It was basically falling apart. Moss had grown into every crevice. Insects were crawling everywhere. I even spotted a few rats at some point. The nobles present looked like they wanted to flee as far from this place as possible, but the Kingsguard blocked anyone trying to leave. Ah, silence. The Grand General's expression was blank but focused. He was acting like nothing was out of the ordinary. He'd taken his position at the opposite end of the room. It seemed that he truly planned on prosecuting his daughter. Thank you all for coming here today. I appreciate your cooperation with our investigation. Why have you brought us here? This place is disgusting. What happens here today must be kept away from prying eyes. I hope I don't need to remind you that whatever happens here today must never be discussed. But nevertheless, I welcome you all to my home. Wait, you live here? I do. Your Grace, is this truly what you wish to do? There will be no going back after this. What? I've made many mistakes in my lifetime. I gave Wyverngard the means to protect themselves, but grew bitter when seeing what I created. I thought my best course of action was to stay in isolation and leave Wyverngard to fend for itself. I see now what a fool I was. I abandoned my kin to survive in an unjust world, and now foreign powers have ingrained themselves in my kingdom, all because of my negligence. Foreign powers? Did he still suspect me of being an agent of the theocracy? Well, no more. It's time that the people of Wyverngard and their enemies remember who watches over them. Ostap? He raised his hand, magical light gathering in his palm. The room began to shake more violently with every moment. It was as if he were commanding an earthquake. I normally couldn't sense aether like Celeste and Aster, but even I could feel the massive energy in the room coalescing around him. What's going on? Several nobles in the gallery screamed out in terror. Some fell to the ground. Whatever spell he was casting, it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. A blinding light flooded into the room. I had to shield my eyes. But as the light faded, I finally saw it. I finally saw him in his true form. Gasp! What? It's a dragon! The gallery broke into hysteria. Some of them kneeled in reverence to the ancient dragon. Some simply fell to the ground and cowered. I even saw some of them attempt to flee before they were shoved back by the knights guarding the exits. Ooh. Oh boy, he's gonna test my voice.
This may not be a court, but I will have order.
An ancient dragon? No. You're the last ancient dragon. Yeah, occupation, scaled lord, age 1203. We finally meet the scaled lord.
That is correct, Heavensborn. I am the first Lord of Wyverngard and descendant of the God of War. Oh? Descendant of the god of war. A descendant of the gods. Huh. I am Rathalion, the Scaled Lord. Scaled Lord and creator of all arcane magic. I'd only known from legends until this moment. I can hardly believe that ancient dragons actually exist. Remus Virgile is an alias, I assume, when I walk amongst your kind. Until now, only the lords of House Steelwind and the kings of Wyverngard have known my true identity. But I will hide no longer. My will alone will determine how this trial ends. According to these legends, dragons can't die of old age. Presumably, he'd still be alive.
I wouldn't be surprised. Despite everything, the kingdom includes him in our constitution.
Wait, really?
As the savior of our kingdom, he and his kin were given an honorary position in our kingdom. The Scaled Lord made Wyverngard what it is today. He was given authority that befits such a legacy.
You're the only individual with the authority to convict any and all of the nobles here. Make no mistake, Mr. Cuthbert. I will remain impartial regardless of what transpires here. I will not interfere in this trial, nor will I try to manipulate its outcome. I will only mediate its proceedings and pass judgment when necessary. Even in my human form, I have always had the strength of an ancient dragon. Well, that's certainly terrifying. Now then, with introductions out of the way, shall we proceed? Of course, Your Grace. The prosecution is ready.
Dragons aside, this was like any other trial. Yeah, dragons aside, it's a totally normal trial. Nothing to see here. The defense is also ready.
I'm sure we're all thoroughly aware of why we're gathered here. But for the sake of doing this properly, could you please list the charges, Lucio? The defendant, Arya Steelwind, is charged with several counts of manslaughter. Her victims include many knights from the Kingsguard who remain unresponsive. And of course, there's Lloyd von Sanctus and Coraline Sybil, the Duke of Commerce and the Minister of Justice, respectively.
What is this farce? This trial's been over before it began. Lady Steelwind clearly overestimated herself. Even a child knows to be wary of mage play. No, don't you see? This is Bahamut's judgment. The divine powers to be clearly think she is unfit to rule at the king's side. Might I remind the court of my own testimony? I witnessed Beatrice Frege enter the prayer room before I lost consciousness. Isn't it suspicious that this occurred around 15 minutes before Pierce's death?
Objection!
Okay.
You only caught a glimpse of her. You don't know if it was someone else disguised in an illusion. You didn't even speak to her.
That's all the more reason to call her to the stand to explain herself.
She has already testified that she has no memories of what transpired during the massacre. There's no need to drag this out any longer than necessary, Cuthbert. My client has a right to fair trial, and Beatrice's involvement clearly implies some greater plot. Enough. I find Mr. Cuthbert's request to be reasonable. I agree that Lady Frega's actions are quite suspect. Very well. Let the defense have its battle. I only hope for his sake that his blade strikes true. Why is every... sorry. Why is everything a combat metaphor with you? Refantasio? Beatrice.
I'm glad you're safe, Mr. Cuthbert.
Not for lack of trying on your part.
I have no memories of what I did. If I hurt you, I am truly sorry.
She actually looks pretty sincere, but it wasn't as if this were the first time she's lied to me. To be honest, I'm still a little doubtful about your memory loss.
I'm not the only one who experienced it. Arya also lost her memories of what happened.
And how would you know that? Awkward. Oh? Showing anger? Regardless, if you truly have no memories of what happened, could you testify about what you do remember?
Very well. I was with my sisters and my guide, Eris Ilmater. I was speaking with them in the garden when I suddenly felt ill and lost consciousness. When I woke up, my sisters found me. They said that I had gone missing for over an hour. I was confused, but when I later heard what happened, I realized that someone must have taken control of my body. I have no memories of what happened, and from what I understand, the same thing happened to Arya. And to make matters worse, there's nothing that indicates who may have controlled our actions.
Nothing, eh? There was something off about the way she was testifying. She was actually being a lot less vague than I was expecting. What was she doing? Okay. My sisters and my guide, Eris Ilmater. She's been missing since the massacre happened. I really hope she's okay. Ah, yes, because Eris is the person we need to worry about.
Oh, make no mistake. She's definitely okay.
What makes you so sure? Do you remember anything about what happened to her?
No, but it's just a feeling.
Enough about that peasant. Tell us what happened next, Frega.
Yeah, that peasant. Being with them in the garden, suddenly felt ill and lost consciousness.
If they were with you, shouldn't your sisters have noticed this? According to Leife and Miriam, their pet dog was running amok in the hallways. They left the witness with Ilmater to chase him down.
Wait, who?
I remember the dog was upset about vet. Somebody say the word veteran or something? Oh, darn it, I forget the exact context of that. But I have to wonder who brought that up. Like, if that was intentional to get the dog to run away and distract them.
Okay.
And when the sisters returned to the garden, both Beatrice and Ilmater were gone.
Do you remember anything after that?
Oh?
I didn't catch what she was trying to say, but she was interfered with. No. I really want to remember, but I can't. Okay, when I woke up, my sisters found me, said I'd gone missing over an hour. And you have no memories of what happened? No, none at all. I can only imagine what I was forced to do while I was unconscious.
Forced?
What do you mean by that?
Okay.
Confused when I later heard what happened, I realized that someone must have taken control of my body. So you're also saying that someone else controlled your body? Yes. It's the only explanation for why you saw me in the prayer room.
Objection!
Absolutely ridiculous. You're clearly spinning a fairy tale to absolve yourself.
I had no reason to trust her, so why did I feel like something was wrong? Hey there, Davey. Watch that again, press statement 2.
Ah, that's true.
I'll have to go back and check that again. Think what you will, but please believe me when I say no memory of what happened. That's... Okay, I gotta lock in for this. It's like a split second. It looks like all she got to say was I. Yeah, it changed almost immediately. All I could make out is an I ... Yeah, okay. Okay. No memories of what happened. Oh, wait. Someone was... Okay, nothing changed as far as I can tell. Yeah, as far as I can tell so far. No memories of what happened. From what I understand, the same thing happened to Ari. Your statement does match up with what happened to my client. But you clearly already knew what happened to her. You could just be using that knowledge to fabricate an alibi. Mr. Cuthbert, I know it doesn't mean much coming from me, but I am telling the truth. That remains to be seen. As far as nothing indicates where you controlled our actions. I feel like that's the statement I gotta look at. Why would you even bring that up? Well, if you had evidence that someone else was controlling us, it would exonerate both me and Arya. Oh. I didn't quite catch that again. That would be the best case scenario, wouldn't it? Ah. What? It's nothing. Her brow furrowed increased in frustration. The way she was testifying was a little bit strange. She immediately concluded that someone else had taken control of her. And why was she bringing up what happened to Arya? Try that again. I still couldn't make it out. I don't know, it's too quick. I'll just have to let that go for now. Okay. The two statements that got a rise out of, totally not Eris, were 2 and 6. If I'm looking for something to refute directly, I feel like 6 is the one. But what would I even say here? I'm looking for something that points directly to whoever controlled them. And I mean, I'm like 99% certain that it's Eris. But what would actually link Eris to that? Man, it's gonna be a tough one right off the bat. Oh, wait, the purple mark? Purple mark. I feel like that's... It doesn't really point to Eris, but it points to somebody controlling them, maybe.
Objection!
Why would she say something like that? I found the contradiction, but she might as well have dropped it into my hands. Beatrice, you said there's no indication of who orchestrated this. But there is one piece of evidence that does just that, albeit loosely. And what would that be? This symbol. I pulled out the parchment that Arya gave me. It had the purple mark on it. Arnath, what are you doing? What is he doing? Huh. Is he surprised to see it? Also, demons can't lie, but can they deceive with, like, body motions and whatnot? Is he acting surprised but not actually surprised? Or is he genuinely surprised? He's not saying anything. Probably because he'd have to say the truth. What's wrong? He's suppressing our connection. Connection? I can't actually see what you're trying to show me. Marnath, can you stop being petty and just let her see it? I don't take orders from you, Heavensborn. Oh, my poor throat. I wonder, Mr. Cuthbert, what is on that parchment?
You see, Beatrice, Arya has been investigating a string of murders throughout Wyverngard. These murders appear to be unrelated, despite how gruesome they are. But they all share one thing in common. This symbol was found at each and every crime scene.
Objection!
Don't tell me my daughter has roped you into her little conspiracy theory. Your mind control defense would be laughable if it weren't downright insulting. Grand General, during the gap in Arya's memory, someone placed this mark in her pocket. It was clearly some sort of taunt from whoever orchestrated this. Nonsense. She clearly drew that symbol herself during her psychotic episode. I've had to listen to her go on and on about her insane theory. She was obsessed with it.
Mr. Cuthbert, aren't you curious about what just happened?
For real, though. Tyrion, please. Beatrice is trying so hard to fight against this contract. Oh my goodness.
What are you talking about? Think about it. My apologies. I don't know why I said that.
You know, I'm surprised Eris let her say anything.
Her frustration was rising with each word she said.
Is everything okay?
Yes, I'm perfectly fine. Anyways, it looks like you'll have to figure out the rest on your own.
Figure out the rest on my own?
Your Grace, these two are making a mockery of us by spouting these insane theories. The defense clearly has no case. End this at once.
I am so confused about Lucio. Well, okay, I guess it could make sense. If he truly believes that there's no substance, like, to the marks and whatnot, and he thinks that Tyrion's not giving it his best or something, then he just wants to get things over with. He doesn't want things to be drawn out and painful.
Considering what I know, I'd like to indulge this theory.
I have to wonder if what Eris is doing works on Rothalion. Like, he is the offspring of a god, so his power to resist it might not be as strong. I don't know.
The judge was finally giving me a chance for once. That was a first. Beatrice had been acting strangely since the trial began. It was suspicious, but not in the way that seems to implicate her. It's almost like she was intentionally trying to bring something to my attention. I decided to pull on this thread a little. She just asked me if I was curious about what just happened, but every time I asked her to elaborate, she said nothing. What event was Beatrice referring to? Whatever she was trying to draw my attention to, it had to be significant in some way. Marnath hid the purple mark from Beatrice. Wait, what? That was weird, it wasn't letting me do it. Marnath. He didn't allow Beatrice to see the purple mark. He'd only do that if Beatrice would recognize it normally. When Marnath interfere? Maranath is her familiar, and he used to follow her orders. But things have clearly changed now that she belongs to the Empress of Discord. Oh? Tyrion's starting to use his brain a little bit? So why would a demon like Maranath interfere like this? Maranath has been... It is hiding... a demon. Hiding a demon? Has been hiding a demon. Hiding an urban myth, the ancient dragon, the nobility, demon. He can't be lying about, because he can't lie. Related to a demon? I mean... a demon related to another demon? Wow. I never would have guessed. I'm thinking he's hiding? Well... or could he be hiding an urban myth? Oh, that seems a little weird, but let's try that one. No. No, there was a common thread here. First, Beatrice seemed to know about the purple mark that Arya had been investigating. Second, Maranath is preventing Beatrice from seeing it. And he's a demon who wouldn't personally care about the politics of Wyverngard. I'm gonna go oh, the purple mark is related to a demon. That makes more sense. Yep. The purple mark must be related to a demon somehow. That's the only explanation as to why he would prevent her from seeing the mark. But Arya had been investigating murders throughout Wyverngard. Did that mean her investigation also had something to do with a demon? Arya suspected that each of the murderers in those cases were acting against their will. And in this case, both Arya and Beatrice were also claiming they were controlled. How could something demonic control Beatrice? Boy, I wonder how. I couldn't explain what happened to Arya and these other individuals, but I did know why Beatrice might not have full control of her actions.
What if
Beatrice lost control of their actions against their due to a blood contract? There we go. I recalled what was written on Beatrice's contract during her trial. It said what would happen if she failed to claim House Frege. Her soul, her mind, and her life would all be claimed by the Empress of Discord. What does this tell us about Arya? If this Empress of Discord owned Beatrice's mind, would that mean they could also control Beatrice against her will? But if that were true...
What if
Arya lost control of their mind? No, I mean, you shouldn't have a blood contract, right?
maybe
The mastermind lost the mastermind. Mastermind created forged documents?
what if
What the heck? Get a victim. What does this tell us about Arya? I mean, does this mean that she also lost control due to a blood contract? I find that hard to believe. That's the only thing I can really come up with here. That's right? What? No, that couldn't be right, could it? Why would Arya do that? But it was the conclusion that made the most sense. I couldn't think of any other way someone could control her against her will. And there was one way to find out for certain. The Divine Edict. That same ability I used against Beatrice during her trial. I didn't fully comprehend it at the time, but I now had some understanding of how it worked. It created a copy of a blood contract between a contract holder and the demon who created it. But for it to work, I needed to know the name of the contract holder and the name of the demon who drafted it. Which demon did Arya make a blood contract with? Right now, I was relying on speculation. But going off of what I knew, the demon who made the contract must be... I mean, I don't think it'd be Maranath. Did she make a contract with the Empress of Discord? I'm just still baffled that she would make a contract with a demon. Like, why? What would push her that far? The so-called Empress of Discord. She was mentioned in Beatrice's blood contract, but I still had no idea who or what she was. However, she was mentioned in a blood contract created by Maranath. Was Maranath her subordinate in some way? She's the Empress of Discord, what do you think? That might explain why Maranath didn't want Beatrice to identify the purple mark. I wasn't sure if a pseudonym was enough, but it was the closest I could get with what I knew so far.
You've been awfully quiet for a while, Mr. Cuthbert. He's probably imagining new ways to futilely stall for time.
I think I finally figured out why the witness and the defendant can't remember anything. And it would also explain why they didn't have control of their actions.
Objection!
Again with this? If you're so convinced of my daughter's conspiracy, why don't you prove it?
Bro, we were just about to.
I knew it. Even you don't believe in the nonsense you're spouting.
Lord Steelwind, I want to be wrong about this. If I'm right, the implications don't bode well for anyone involved. So instead of telling you, I think it would be better to show you. Empress of Discord, wherever you may hide. It's about time. By the Eye of Horus, I issue upon you a divine edict. Release thy guards and manifest your blood contract with Arya Steelwind. Oh. The blood contract seems strange. Unlike Beatrice's contract, it's only one page. Even stranger, there's a large empty space at the top half of the page. There are only a few sentences at the bottom. For the intentions of this contract, the person who hands the contract to Arya Steelwind will be referred to as the patron. By signing this contract, Arya Steelwind surrenders her mind, body, and soul to the patron. This contract will bind Arya Steelwind to the patron so long as they both live. It's signed with Arya's signature.
No, this can't be true. This is... Enough! Stop prattling amongst yourself.
Objection!
No, this is a sham. This wretch has used magic to create a convincing fabrication. It's genuine, Lucio. I can sense it. It's impossible to falsify something like this. You can't deny the truth anymore, Grand General. There is a way to control someone else's actions. Arya Steelwind wasn't affected by Mage Blight. She was oh, excuse me. She was controlled against her will, and her memories were overwritten. With this evidence, there's no doubt that Arya did sign a blood contract, but it still doesn't make sense.
I agree. Even if Arya was the type of person to make a deal with a demon, there isn't a single part of this contract that benefits her. Why did Arya sign this contract?
Maybe.
Arya signed the contract because she placed her trust in... Lord Steelwind? No. Okay, no. Arya would never make a contract with the demon willingly. Even if she did, no one would ever agree to terms like this. There's only one explanation for why she would sign this. Right. Yeah, it's more like a threat or something. Or maybe it looked like a normal document? But even so, why would she sign that? Threatened by Beatrice, Lord Steelwind, the nobility? No, that doesn't make any sense. Alright, let's try because it looked like a normal document. Yeah, okay. There's a large empty space above the term of your daughter's contract. When I issue a divine edict, it creates a copy of the blood contract that I call for. I think when she was given this contract, it probably looked like something entirely different. Something else was written in this empty space to make it look like a normal legal document. Which means that my client was not in control of her actions that day.
Objection!
Enough of this. All of you. Do you see now, Grand General?
Your daughter was not responsible for what happened.
That remains to be proven.
What are you talking about? She has a blood contract that relinquishes control of her free will.
Not having control and not being responsible are two very different things, Cuthbert.
What?
I'll admit, the defendant may not have had control of her actions when she murdered the victims. However, she did have full control of herself when she signed this contract.
Are you serious? No one in their right mind would willingly sign a contract like this.
And what of Beatrice Frege? Was she in her right mind when she made a contract with the demon Maronath? If we can't hold the defendant responsible, surely we should also acquit Lady Frege for the murder of her father.
That's hardly the same thing.
I, for one, failed to see the difference. A fool made a deal with a demon, and as a result, several esteemed members of the nobility were killed.
She's your daughter, Lucio.
And how does that change anything?
He seriously doesn't care if he convicts Arya. What kind of father is he?
Honestly, this only places more responsibility on her for what happened. I could have accepted if she had been reckless and accidentally induced Mage Blight. But to sign a contract with a demon? That only further espouses the need to put her down.
She was clearly tricked, Lucio.
Is that so? He's an attorney just like you. Would you really sign a contract without carefully inspecting it? Whether it was through foolishness, negligence, or both, the defendant willingly signed a blood contract. She compromised herself, and as a result, 3 people died, and many more were incapacitated. The responsibility falls squarely on her.
Wait. Even if she willingly signed that contract, that wasn't entirely true.
Who else was responsible for Arya's actions?
What if...
The patron.
Lucio, there's clearly someone else to blame for Arya's actions that day.
Oh? And who would that be?
I'd like to reread my client's blood contract to the court. By signing this contract, Arya Steelwind surrenders her mind, body, and soul to the patron. That can only mean one thing. Whoever this patron is, they took control of my client and used her to murder the victims. That's right. They could still be out there. None of us is safe until this patron is apprehended. Surely we can't end this trial while every member of the Wyvern Guard nobility is in danger.
I'm compelled to agree with Mr. Cuthbert. Trickery or not, it's clear someone wished ill intent.
And until we know who this patron is, you can't pass judgment on my client. Not until we know the circumstances under which she signed that blood contract.
And what would you have us do, Cuthbert? The contract has no stipulations about proximity or how this mind control works. For all we know, this patron could have murdered the victims all while sitting in their very home.
There was a clear intent behind this attack. Even if the patron didn't directly participate in the murders, they definitely had a motive. If Arya was being controlled, then we can analyze her behavior to determine who was controlling her.
I see. Despite the questions raised, we've clearly made some headway. I believe we should take a brief recess to process these revelations. Very well.
Oh, okay. Save progress. My saves are getting so messed up. Okay, but honestly, we should already have who the patron is, because he had to call out the Empress of Discord to even get that blood contract. So, by the rules of that magic itself, that should be proof enough for the patron. We stepped outside the Scaled Lord's lair to get some fresh air. I did a few stretches and some breathing exercises. Anything to take my mind off of what had been revealed. Celeste silently sat on a rock near the ruins, her eyes looking down. Arya had become a close friend of hers over the last few months. She was probably taking this harder than anyone. Arya, I'm so sorry. Don't be. She couldn't find the words. She just sighed and sat down next to Celeste. She'd always been stoic, but it was clear even she has her breaking point. I can't imagine what you're feeling right now, but it's not as hopeless as it looks. If we can find out who did this to you, we can still save you. Do you remember if you've signed anything recently? No, I don't. Damn it all. For all we knew, it could have been any of the documents she signed while she was doing her job. I still don't understand. I would never be that careless. Right. As much as I hate to admit it, Lucio was right. You're an attorney like me. We always carefully look over contracts before we sign them. The patron can control your memories, too. For all we know, they could have used any number of tactics to coerce you into signing that contract. I suppose that's possible. Arya. As we were deliberating amongst ourselves, the Grand General approached us alone. What are you doing here? Father. Well, he's clearly distressed. And angry. He only glared at Arya silently before walking away. I can't believe him. His actions said otherwise, but I could have sworn I saw something through the eye. No matter what he felt internally, he made it clear that he wouldn't relent. He was my enemy. Whatever his motivations are, I'd overcome him, just like everyone else. We should also head back, Celeste. Right.
Court is now resumed. Shall we pick up where we carried off?
Your Grace, I think we should review what we do know about the murders.
We do have a plethora of witnesses to work with.
Let's start from the beginning. It all began at noon yesterday. I was at my house in Ratholm with Arya and my bodyguard, Celeste. Oh, His house in Rathelm. That was his original house, right? Yeah. I was speaking with them when a courier suddenly delivered a letter to my home. It was from Garrick Pierce. He wanted to meet with me and Celeste at the Grand Cathedral of the Scaled Lord at 2 p.m. To make sure we were on time, we arrived at the Grand Cathedral at 1 p.m. At the time, we didn't know that the cathedral was closed to the public. But the knights guarding the cathedral allowed us through anyway. Apparently, they were expecting us.
Which should not have happened. Due to the solemnity of the situation, we were very particular about who was permitted to enter the cathedral.
It's possible someone pulled some strings to let us through.
Or you two entered the cathedral illegally. I know about every order given to the Kingsguard, and none of them were told to let you two through.
Tell me, Lucio, were the knights stationed at the entrance among the knights who fell comatose?
Perhaps we should continue.
We arrived at the church and spent the next hour sightseeing before we went to meet with Pierce. In that time, we met with the Archduke, Grand General, my client, His Majesty, and Prince Alaric. And around that time, Arya and Aster left together to meet with the High Speaker in his quarters. While exploring the cathedral, we spoke with the Duke of Commerce and Minister of Justice. Wait a minute. Hold up, I had a thought. This is a rare occurrence. Alright. High Priest, or whatever his name is sus AF. I thought he was sus before, but now he's even more sus. Okay. While exploring the cathedral, we spoke with the Duke of Commerce and Minister of Justice. Then we spoke with the three Frege sisters and Eris Ilmater.
Eris Ilmater?
She's a friend of Beatrice Frege. Oh yeah, a friend. The Kingsguard wouldn't let her bring Maranath into the cathedral, so she brought Eris to guide her instead. Anyways, we left the garden at around 1:45 p.m. to meet with Pierce in the prayer room. And at around the same time, Arya left her meeting with a High Speaker and felt nauseous. High Speaker, that's right. I always think of him as like High Priest, but it's the High Speaker. The last thing she remembers is looking at Lake Galacrond over the west balcony.
A likely story.
Regardless, at 2 p.m., Aster went to pay respects to his father's body. Unbeknownst to him, a mage had placed a glyph of contingency in front of his father's coffin. It was set to trap him within force cage.
What a despicable act. Considering what followed, the attack on His Majesty must have been a diversion.
It was also at this time that both Beatrice and Eris went missing. Considering the timing of it all, someone must have taken control of Beatrice's body after the trap on Aster was sprung.
And are you saying this patron controlled her as well?
No, I don't think so. According to her contract, her mind belongs to the Empress of Discord, not the patron. But, okay, am I misunderstanding something here? Because like I said, he had to call out the Empress of Discord and her contract with Arya. He needs both names, and only then can he manifest the contract. So, like, either this seems like a big plot hole, or it's some kind of mind-affecting ability of the Empress. I figure him not suspecting Eris at all, and really nobody suspecting Eris at all, is probably some kind of mental interference from the Empress of Discord, just a passive ability. So maybe it could be something like that. I don't know. Furthermore, Arya's blood contract was created by the Empress. Oh, okay, I see. No, I was misunderstanding. The contract was created by the Empress, so I guess he just needs whoever created the contract. Yeah, and then whoever holds, well, whoever gives the contract to Arya is in control of Arya. Yeah, whoever gives the contract to Arya. And so what I've noticed about this blood contract is that let's see, bind Arya Steelwind to the patrons so long as they both live. That sounds quite similar to like signing some kind of marriage contract. Okay. I believe the patron and the Empress were in league with each other, but they were two distinct individuals.
Wonderful. Another demon we have to worry about.
At that moment, the patron and the Empress had all of the pieces they needed. That's when they began the massacre. The patron took control of Arya's body, and Von Sanctus was murdered at 2:05 p.m. Whether it was intentional or an accident, oil was spilt from the lanterns in the common room and a fire started. Since Von Sanctus's body was found there, this must have happened after he was murdered. Shortly after, Prince Alaric spotted smoke from the fire and asked Arya what was going on. Arya responded by using an unknown transmutation spell to incapacitate him.
To think they would use her to attack the prince as well.
Luckily, the effects of that spell were only temporary, and Alaric came out unharmed. After this, the patron used Arya to murder Sybil at 2:15 p.m. She brought Sybil's body to the westward balcony, where she dumped it into Lake Galacron. High Speaker Arceus witnessed this, but he wasn't aware of what she'd thrown off the balcony until much later. The High Speaker thought this encounter was strange, but he continued with his business. He headed to the prayer room, but was turned away by the knights standing guard there. Meanwhile, Celeste and I were speaking with Lord Pierce. When we showed up for the meeting earlier, he was clearly expecting someone else to show up. We tried to get to the bottom of what was happening, but he refused to answer our questions. And at about 2:20 p.m., we heard a commotion outside. Celeste went to investigate. And that's when Celeste fought Arya. The patron's target was Garrick Pierce, but Celeste was too powerful to neutralize. They fought each other for about 15 minutes before Arya was finally able to push past her.
During their fight, the Empress sent Beatrice into the prayer room. She probably had Beatrice cast invisibility to move undetected. She then used her to cast a sleep spell on Pierce and me to knock us out. I remember checking the time close to when this happened. This must have happened at 2:30 p.m.
If your testimony is correct, Beatrice Frege was actively used in this plan.
Yes, and considering how quickly the massacre unfolded, the Empress must have been coordinating with the patron. Considering how oddly some of the knights were acting, it's possible they had other accomplices too. They probably planned how they would use Beatrice and Arya to carry out the murders. Anyways, after Beatrice knocked us out, Arya finally pushed past Celeste and entered the prayer room. And before Celeste could catch up to her, she had already murdered Pierce. Arya and I were already unconscious by the time Celeste entered the room. The patron had already achieved their goal of murdering the three nobles, so she probably fell unconscious when they released their control over her. Arya and I regained consciousness shortly after. That's when the Inquisition arrested her for the murders.
Lord Pierce was one of the victims. Your meeting clearly had more significance than I'd realized. So tell us, Cuthbert, what was your discussion about?
It's fine. You can tell them. All right. For the past few months, Celeste and I have been investigating who her birth parents are.
I recall receiving many complaints about her during the Lord's Ball.
Supposedly, Garrick Pierce had the information we were looking for. That letter he sent us said that he wanted to trade information for his freedom. I assumed this meant that he wanted me to be his attorney.
Do you honestly expect us to believe that? Why would he ask for help from the attorney who indicted him in the first place?
We thought the same thing. And when we arrived for the meeting, it was clear I wasn't the intended recipient. This means that Pierce sent that letter to someone else.
No?
Rathalion?
Wait. Rathalion? You better not be lying to us, Cuthbert.
Frankly, I don't much care if you believe me. Regardless, if we examine every action Arya took, we can build a psychological profile of the patron.
One can often learn a lot about a person by how they approach combat.
Wait, what did exactly you say there? Okay, psychological profile of the game. Yeah, that wasn't directly about combat. So once again, he's just comparing everything to combat. And now Tyrion's just ignoring it. Oh wait, did I read that last part? I did not. To begin, the defense would like to call Commander White to the stand. His testimony might shed some light on how Von Sanctus and Sybil died. Despite all these witness accounts, we still only know how Pierce was murdered.
Yes, he was impaled using a blade magically frozen from his own blood.
In a grim sort of way, it was almost poetic that he died the same way Flintheart did. But I doubted that gave Celeste any kind of closure. Anyways, we need to find out exactly how Arya murdered Von Sanctus and Sybil. The massacre was swift and efficient, It must have required a lot of forethought and coordination. If we figure out who might have had this knowledge, we might be able to find out who did this. I see. Kingsguard. Escort Commander Orem White to the witness stand. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Right. Commander? I'm sorry. I just can't do this. Or, man. The pressure's too much for him. How am I supposed to act like this is normal? A giant lizard is standing right behind me. Calling me a lizard is highly offensive, Commander. Or my throat. Sorry, your scaled lordship, sir. Commander, just try your best to testify about what happened. Yeah. It all started when we received a report from the Kingsguard. The prosecutor attacked Prince Alaric and a fire had broken out in the common room. We weren't sure what the deal with Steelwind was, so we went to the common room to put out the fire. But when we got there, we noticed a bunch of unconscious knights in front of the prayer room. We went to the prayer room. That's when we found Steelwind and Cuthbert unconscious next to Pierce's dead body. We later found the bodies of Von Sanctus and Sybil, too. That's when we realized that she offed all three of them. So you still have no idea how Steelwind was used to murder Von Sanctus or Sybil? Not a clue. It's especially worse for Von Sanctus. That fire burned a lot of the physical evidence off of his body. What about Sybil? Was there any physical evidence on her body? No idea about that either. She didn't have any wounds either. All we know is that she died of suffocation. There was definitely more information I could glean from their investigation. Okay. Fire broken out of the common room. And this is mainly based on Prince Alaric's testimony. Am I correct? Yeah. We still have no idea which transmutation spell she hit him with. Judging from the time of the report, this must have been well after all three of the murders occurred. Yeah. It was unfortunate how that played out. After the murders occurred? Exiting the common room. Okay, Lloyd died at 2:05, but that was in the common room. That one should have been first, right? Then Coraline, 2:18. Second, and Garrick was third. I guess maybe it doesn't mean that he was hit by the spell after all three murders. Oh no, that... Okay, yeah, maybe, okay. Maybe it means he notified the guards after all the murders. Yeah, okay.
If Steelwind really was controlled, whoever controlled her knew how to get the job done quickly.
That left the question of how they did this so efficiently. I'm sure the deal with Steelwind was one of the common. Oh, one moment.
Alright, I'm back.
Okay, let's go and put out the fire. Was that wise? Regardless of who it was, someone assaulted a Prince of Wyrengard.
They were already dealing with the king who was trapped in that force cage. Honestly, a lot happened in that hour, and most of our attention was focused on keeping the royal family safe.
Oh my. Now dog's going crazy.
Okay.
We can already conclude that the attack on the king was a distraction. Whoever orchestrated this must have known we'd focus our attention on keeping him safe.
The casualties included many knights from the Kingsguard. They probably had to spread their forces thin to protect everyone else and handle the fire in the common room.
What did you do when you arrived at the common room, Commander?
Not so much of unconscious knights. Did you see Arya or Celeste?
Excuse me.
No. We only saw the aftermath of their fight. There were marks and craters everywhere in that hallway. Pierce's time of death was 2:45 p.m. and the knights didn't arrive at the common room until 3:10 p.m. They didn't arrive at the prayer room until well after the battle had taken place.
Wait, wouldn't that mean that you were in that room with Pierce's body for 25 minutes? Why didn't you look for help? You weren't waking up for some reason, so I kept channeling my healing magic into you. Looking back, I probably should have just looked for help. But even if Arya was unconscious, I didn't want to leave you alone in that room with her. Right. Sorry. Oh, I haven't been looking at these notes closely. Okay. I don't think anything there changed. Went to the prayer room, found Steelwind and Cuthbert unconscious. Judging from the timing, this would have been several minutes after he'd already died.
Yeah, and we had no idea what was going on. Pierce was already dead, and you and Steelwind were unresponsive.
I can see why I'd be unresponsive. I was hit with a spell specifically designed to make people sleep. But why was Arya unconscious too?
We have no idea. We'd never even heard of demonic possession until today. For all we know, it could have been all a side effect of being controlled for over an hour.
On the bounties of one Sanctus and Sybil, realized she left all three of them.
Okay.
That last statement was a little vague. Whose murder should he elaborate on? Oh, okay, this is probably going to change. Lloyd von Sanctus? Could you elaborate more on von Sanctus's murder? Was there any evidence that implied how he died?
Like I said, it's trickier with Von Sanctus because the fire partially burned his body. Our divination magic could only tell that he died of suffocation.
I see. So there's no other physical evidence.
Well, there is one thing. From his burn marks, we do know that he was hit with some kind of mundane projectile before he died.
Do you mean like an arrow or something? Arya's a mage, though. Why would she use a mundane weapon to attack? Well, it's really good with weapons that don't have scaling.
Talentless mages will often use mundane weapons to make up for their weakness. Either way, she probably wanted to weaken him before she dealt the final blow.
So he took a direct attack from her before he died. Anyway, please add this to your testimony, Commander White.
Sure, whatever you say, kid.
Oh, okay, there's a new statement. From burn marks, or from the burns on his body, she must have hit him with a firebolt to keep him from getting... Wait, what? Yeah, what does this have to do with anything he just said?
From the burns on his body, he must have hit him with a firebolt to keep him from getting away. He didn't have anything to defend himself with.
Right. Firebolt is in her spell compendium, and I doubt Von Sanctus was much of a fighter.
Yeah, the poor sap didn't have a chance. He must have been in immense pain from that attack.
Lucio seems a little doubtful. But if I remember correctly, dying from... Well, he didn't die from fire, he died of suffocation. But burning to death, I think, is supposed to be one of the most painful ways to go. So, if he, well, yeah, he was probably in a lot of pain before he died, even though he didn't burn to death. It must have been super hot in there. Well, I guess if it got hot enough, he could just spontaneously combust. But again, he didn't die of fire, he died of suffocation. Despite how much I knew, there were a lot of details missing about how Von Sanctus and Sybil died. But the Inquisition might have found some clues that I missed. I needed to ask the commander to elaborate on what they knew about each of the murders. Okay. The attack Von Sanctus and suffocated himself. Okay. So that changed, and then this got added. And due to the lack of physical evidence, you're not sure what she used.
Von Sanctus and Sybil both died of, via suffocation. We can probably assume that the patron used the same method to murder both of them.
You know what they say about assuming.
Don't be cute, Cuthbert.
Assuming makes an ass out of you and me. It's not like he can help it. Thanks, Celeste. What? What? I love these little quips. Anyways, Lucio's assumption did make sense, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions yet. Either way, was Von Sanctus the victim I wanted to focus on? Okay. Elaborate on Coraline. Could you elaborate more on Sybil's murder? Was there any evidence that implied how she died?
Using our divination magic, we know she died of suffocation. We're not exactly sure how.
But unlike Von Sanctus, Sybil's body wasn't burned. Shouldn't there have been wounds around her neck if she was suffocated?
Well, we found traces of necromancy on Sybil. We think Steelwind cast mend wounds on her body after she offed her. Someone must have learned that trick from Nightgrave's case. It removed any wounds on the body.
It's exactly like what happened with Catherine Bellwether.
Yeah. The only wounds she has are from the impact of falling into Lake Galacrond.
Anyways, please add this to your testimony, Commander White.
Sure, whatever you say, kid.
Later discovered her body.
We later discovered her body in Lake Galacrond. From the High Speaker's testimony, Steelwind must have dumped her body from the balcony above.
How did you know her body was there anyway?
When bodies start dropping, we noticed that she was nowhere to be found. One of the Kingsguard cast Locate Creature and realized she was somewhere in the lake.
Do I have that one?
This Hold Creature?
No, I don't have Locate Creature.
It took us an hour before we finally fished her out. Based on the High Speaker's testimony, he was dead long before that.
Despite how much I knew, there were a lot of details missing about how Von Sanctus and Sybil died. But the Inquisition might have found some clues that I missed. I needed to ask the commander to elaborate on what they knew about each of the murders. Based on the High Speaker's testimony, she was dead long before that.
Okay.
Yeah, Sybil died at 2:18. Lloyd died at 2:05. They got out of the meeting when again? Marriage meeting, 1:15 to 1:40 p.m. And the High Speaker's testimony... He's on his way to recite prayers. When exactly, though? I guess he didn't actually give a time?
Okay. Steelwind must have attacked Sybil somewhere close to that balcony. And going by the autopsy report, he must have suffocated her somehow.
And since someone cast mend wounds on the body, we still don't know how.
Yeah. It's going to be a real headache figuring that out.
No one saw the murder. The High Speaker only witnessed the moment Arya dumped the body, and even he didn't see that much. Anyways, was Sybil the victim I wanted to focus on? Whose murder should he elaborate on?
Eric Pierce. You elaborate more on Pierce's murder? Was there any evidence that implied how he died?
Oh, that one is simple. McCoy chased Steelwind to the prayer room, but didn't arrive fast enough. When she got there, Pierce was already dead. He was killed using a blade magically formed from his own blood.
But why would she do something like that? When he murdered Flintheart McCoy, he only used shaped liquid to avoid leaving behind any evidence. I doubt the patron would make Steelwind do that for the same reason. Their intent was to pin the crime on her.
We think she knew McCoy was on her tail. She didn't have enough time to suffocate him as she did with Von Sanctus and Sybil. And she didn't have any weapons on her. She must have had to improvise.
But she has other spells that could have done the job. She could have hit him with a Steelwind strike.
I know from experience that she's terrible at controlling that spell. It's possible she didn't want to unleash such a powerful spell in a closed room.
That sort of tracked, but it still didn't feel quite right. Anyways, the other two murders were really well planned. Pierce's murder was the only one that required improvisation.
It's possible the patron severely underestimated McCoy's combat capabilities. She fought my daughter for almost half an hour. Meanwhile, the other two murders occurred within quick succession of one another.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Anyways, please add this to your testimony, Commander White.
Sure, whatever you say, kid.
Okay. Must have improvised a weapon using shaped liquid. Which is strangely similar to how he murdered Flintheart McCoy.
Lord Pierce was one of the targets of the patron. It's likely they knew about what happened during McCoy's trials and drew inspiration from that.
Still, though, it seems awfully creative for something they came up with at the moment. Or at the moment.
Well, don't the legends say that demons engage in contrapasso?
What the heck is that?
Say what now?
Some people believe that when souls are sent to hell, they're punished in a way that relates to their sins. In Pierce's case, he committed murder with a frozen blade. It's possible this Empress wanted the patron to murder him in the same way. Although I still couldn't say for sure. Despite how much I knew, there were a lot of details missing about how Von Sanctus and Sybil died. Okay, elaborate on murders. Okay, so the question is, which one do I need to talk about? Okay, Pierce one. Well, strange. Oh wait, that's right. I didn't check that one yet. So this is new dialogue. Hold on. I'll just. Yada yada yada. I'll go back through this again. Okay, let's try that again without skipping through it this time. Okay.
From McCoy's testimony, we know that Steelwind killed Pierce in the prayer room.
Out of all the murders, Pierce's is the one we have the most information about.
Yeah. From what it sounds like, this patron wasn't planning to let McCoy live.
Okay. I had sort of wondered if they were trying to find some way to trap Tyrion by, like, proving Arya's innocence and then pinning something on Celeste. But maybe they were just trying to straight up kill Celeste. And then make Tyrion fail in his trial defending Arya or something. I imagine that would give him a lot of despair, which seems to be the point of this whole thing. But yeah, was it the patron's idea or the Empress's?
That drawn-out fight must have really thrown a wrench into their plans. I find that a little strange, though.
How so?
My daughter is a worthless soldier. She has no talent for combat, and I've witnessed McCoy's battle prowess firsthand. As much as I hate to admit it, McCoy should have easily overcome her in an even fight.
It was her magic that was the problem. I had no idea what kind of spells she could throw at me. I had to be careful. And despite everything, I really didn't want to hurt her.
That kindness could be the death of you, McCoy.
Like, Tyrion wants to say something, but he can't, because it is true. Anyways, was Pierce the victim I wanted to focus on? Okay. I'm thinking maybe Sybil? Okay, died of suffocation, not exactly sure how. Wasn't burned. There's a necromancy, then wounds. Impact, falling into the lake. Discover the body in Lake Galacrond. High Speaker's testimony. I sort of feel like maybe I'm supposed to find something wrong here. Like, the High Speaker's testimony doesn't quite match with everything else. I feel like there's a difference in the time. But maybe not. Let's see. When did the speaker get to the prayer room? What if the murderer went from the common room to the balcony, and he saw her on the balcony? They were both going to the prayer room. Yeah, I feel like something is wrong with the priest's, or the High Speaker's testimony.
Objection!
No, that's wrong. Okay.
I fail to see how that proves anything, Mr. Cuthbert.
Oops. Okay. The murderer's route?
Objection!
No, that's not right. You can tell when the music changes. Or when it doesn't change. Did I try the encounter? Yeah, I think I did. On his way to the prayer room. And I tried the murderer's route, right? Maybe... Can I trim him up with the time?
Objection!
No? I'm gonna go over Lloyd's death this time. Usually burn, suffocation, another food. It was some kind of mundane projectile. Well, yeah, this one is weird because then it says about hitting with firebolt or something. So he just said a mundane projectile, like an arrow or whatever, and now he's saying about a firebolt? What? I mean, it does say here that implies the body was hit with a fire-based evocation spell. Traces of abjuration magic. What about firebolt? Where's firebolt? Firebolto! 3rd-degree burns. Literally bolto. Yeah. Nope, that's not right. Oh, no, he didn't have anything to defend himself with. Where is it? Where's his rock thingy? Oh, there it is. Stone skin.
Objection!
No? But he did have something to defend himself with. What do you want from me? Oh, he did also have force cage.
Objection!
There we go. That's strange. What is it now? Commander White, you said that Steel One attacked Von Sanctus with a projectile before she suffocated him. Yeah, she probably wanted to injure him so he'd be easier to subdue. But that's what I find strange. Von Sanctus knew he was under attack. So wouldn't he cast Force Cage to repel her? I guess that's true. Von Sanctus was hardly a warrior, Cuthbert. Force Cage is an extremely useful spell, but it has to be aimed. He was shot with a projectile. He must have been in immense pain. I doubt he'd be able to think clearly under those circumstances. I'd normally agree with you, but the crime scene tells another story. What do you mean, Cuthbert?
Or Mr. Cuthbert.
What implies on Sanctus cast Force Cage? Well, there's an outline on the ground. Found on and around the body? Like, abjuration magic was found on and around the body? There's nothing that mentions the, Oh, here. Traces of abjuration magic that form a perfect square around the body. When we investigated the crime scene, we found traces of abjuration magic that formed a perfect square around the body. I'm sure if we measured the dimensions of that square, it would be 10 feet by 10 feet.
Which is the same length and width as the cube created by Force Cage.
Like you said, he was in no shape to aim it. So he cast Force Cage on himself to create a makeshift barrier.
Objection!
Nonsense. If Von Sanctus had cast Force Cage on himself, he should have been protected from further harm. The defendant wouldn't have been able to suffocate him after that.
Perhaps there's some way to bypass Force Cage.
Your ignorance of the arcane arts is apparent.
But Lucio, physics, or, well, maybe chemistry? I don't know. I'm thinking all the fire in the room took the air out of the place.
Force Cage is one of the most powerful abjuration spells in existence. It can't be dispelled, and no one could teleport into or out of it.
Right. Aster was also trapped in a Force Cage, and he had to wait for the hour duration to elapse. Wait. If Force Cage is a perfectly closed space, is it possible that he ran out of air?
That would be a glaring weakness. House Von Sanctus obviously designed that spell to only allow oxygen through the barrier.
I figured. But if there's no oxygen left in the room...
And before you ask, poisonous gases can't be pushed through the barrier either.
And that would also make his cause of death poison, as that was brought up before. Right. And even if they had used poisonous gas, the autopsy report wouldn't have said he was suffocated. Did Arya suffocate Von Sanctus? Only oxygen can travel through the bounds of a Force Cage. So how did Arya suffocate Von Sanctus despite that? The fire consumed all the oxygen inside the cage. Well, in the common room itself, including the cage. Force Cage is specifically designed to allow oxygen through its barrier. But what if there was no oxygen left in the room?
No oxygen?
Ah.
It was the fire in the common room. Von Sanctus couldn't be harmed once he was in that Force Cage. So she started a fire to eat all of the oxygen within the room.
Oh, right, a Force Cage... You can't teleport through a Force Cage. That's why he had no chance to escape. Yeah, any attempts to magically teleport into or out of the cube will fail. There we go. I mean, I had figured that the fire took all the oxygen out of the room, and that's probably why he died. Like, even last time we went through this.
Or last stream, whatever. But then I never put it together with why Von Sanctus couldn't escape. I was like, why didn't he just escape at the very end? Just like, if he knew he was gonna die, that's why. Duh. Murder of Von Sanctus. Attacked Von Sanctus with a firebolt, reacted by casting Force Cage. Seeing that she couldn't break through it, she started a fire to eat all the oxygen in the room. Von Sanctus was probably helpless as he suffocated from the lack of oxygen. What should have protected him ended up trapping him, and the inability to dispel it ended up sealing his fate. Well, I suppose that explains how the defendant murdered Von Sanctus. But with that in mind, a lot of this plan sounds like it was improvised at the moment. Just like the murder of Pierce. And not only that, we assume that the patron used the same method to kill both Lloyd Von Sanctus and Lady Sybil. But I doubt Lady Sybil died under the same circumstances. Correct. There was only one fire. And if Sybil was in that force cage, the defendant wouldn't have been able to throw her body into Lake Galacrond. Which means Sybil must have died by asphyxiation elsewhere. Then it's clear our next course of action is to determine how Lady Sybil was murdered. We still don't know where she was murdered. The only witness who saw her around this time was the High Speaker, which was after the defendant disposed of Sybil's body. Well, the High Speaker's testimony is as good as a start as any. For our next witness, the defense would like to call High Speaker Theon Arceus to the stand. Oh? What's wrong? It's nothing. Carry on. Kingsguard, escort High Speaker Arceus to the witness stand. Witness, you will testify about... I wonder if this is why you didn't want to call Arceus. Oh, great and blessed scaled Lord! To think that you would grace us with your presence! Oh my God. There's something just intrinsically funny about what may as well be a divine being saying, oh my God. Forgive me, Lord Rathalion. I spoke out of turn. You must think I'm an arrogant fool. How many times do I have to tell you people that I'm not a god? Yes, I revere and serve the god of dragons, but I'm not an avatar of Bahamut. Rathalion himself, didn't it say he's a child of the god of war or something? He reveres and serves the god of dragons. Interesting. Or is the god of dragons also the god of war? What? You're the scaled lord! I'm just a dragon. I'm not even a powerful one. Oh. He's not a powerful one? I don't know. How old do dragons get? I mean, maybe he's young for a dragon. He's only 1,203 years old. Only.
I'm not a deity. This humility. That's exact.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't.
Asuka Dragon-sama. That's exactly what Bahamut's avatar would say. I swear to God. He even swears by the god's name.
I'm dying. This is amazing.
Lucio, please handle this. Perhaps another approach is warranted. High Speaker Arceus, the great and powerful Rothalion calls upon you today. We require your... You require my life? Of course. I will gladly give my life for the Scaled Lord. What? No! Of course. My blood could never be enough. Would you just let me... I will do as you wish, my lord. It might take some time, though. I'll need some time to gather some devout followers of the faith, and...
Enough.
Oh my God. We just wanted your testimony. Just tell us what you saw when Miss Steelwind was at the westward balcony yesterday. Oh, I see. If that's what you truly wish, my lord.
Are we going to ignore how willing he was to commit mass murder? Not a big deal. Happens every now and then.
Be quiet. We just got him to calm down.
What kind of circus is this?
I was doing some paperwork in my quarters, and I suppose I lost track of time. My alarm went off, and I realized that it was time for my afternoon prayers. I began heading to the prayer room when I spotted Lady Steelwind looking over the westward balcony. I tried to greet her, but she didn't respond to me. That's when I noticed she was pushing something large over the balcony and into Lake Galacrond. I asked her what she was doing, but again she ignored me and went toward the prayer room. I thought nothing of it and made my way there as well. That's when the guards there turned me away. I went back to my quarters to do my prayers there.
Oh, that's right. I guess he did say something about she was just sort of standing there. I forgot that. So she would have waited until after he left to act. Considering the timing of it all, this must have all happened minutes before she began attacking the prayer room.
Yes, I consider myself lucky. The Scaled Lord must have graced me with divine luck. Please, just stop.
Or Rothalion. Considering how quickly she was moving, there has to be a reason why she waited there. Was she waiting for the High Speaker to leave? Perhaps I needed to closely examine the timing of these events. Okay, lost track of time, alarm went off. An alarm?
It's a rudimentary artificery device. I use it to remind me to conduct daily prayers.
I see.
And do you have it set to go off at a specific time?
Yes, it's set to go off at 2:10 p.m. 5 minutes before my afternoon prayers.
Okay, 2:10.
Oh, hold on. Getting a phone call. One moment.
Alright, I have returned. Where were we? Okay, yeah, he said his alarm set to go off at 2:10. Wait, but yeah. Sybil died at 2:18. So he would have come out before 2:10. That doesn't match up with Sybil's time of death. Wait, why did I... Did I not press his statement? Or... Okay. So you usually say your afternoon prayers at 2:15 p.m.
Yes. It is said that time is the holiest hour of the god of dragons. This is the first I have heard of this. Was I mistaken? Forgive me, my lord. I can't believe I've dishonored your deity. You know what? Just forget I said anything.
Okay, Rihanna into the prayer room, spotted Lady Steelwind looking over the westward balcony. What was her expression like?
It was very cold and emotionless. The patron must have had control of her when this happened. Yes, that certainly makes the most sense.
What time did this happen?
It was shortly after my alarm went off. It would definitely be before 2:15 p.m.
Okay.
Still before 2:15 p.m., our encounter was short. That's when I noticed she was pushing something large over the balcony and into Lake Galacrond.
And that must have been Sybil's body.
I suppose so.
You don't sound so sure of it yourself.
It's just that I recall Lady Sybil's garb to be much brighter. Meanwhile, the thing I saw Lady Steelwind throw over the balcony was much darker.
Right. You mentioned that before.
It's cleared. It's clear with just the lighting of that space. The balcony is directly above where we found Lady Sybil's body in Lake Galacrond. You obviously saw the defendant dumping the body. What else could it have been?
Yes, I suppose you're right.
I asked her what she was doing, but again she ignored me and went toward the prayer room.
The patron was probably trying to keep her on track, but I'm surprised she didn't attack you. Even if the patron was trying to frame her, she hadn't killed Pierce yet.
Yes, I'm a little confused about that myself. Perhaps I should just be happy that I came out of that encounter unharmed.
Anyways, how long did you talk to her?
Our encounter was very brief since she was ignoring me. It couldn't have lasted for more than 2 minutes.
Okay.
I thought nothing of it and made my way there as well. That's when the guards there turned me away.
Right, and those guards are still comatose. We still don't have an explanation for that either. Did the Empress of Discord use some kind of demonic magic to do that? The Eye of Horus doesn't leave magical traces, so it's possible that demonic magic is the same. Either way, it was awfully convenient he left right before the attack on the prayer room happened. Anyways, what time did this happen?
I believe it was 2:15 p.m. That's when I usually arrive at the prayer room. I went back to my quarters to do my prayers there.
You were in your quarters during the massacre?
Yes. As I've mentioned before, my room is magically soundproof. My guards and I were woefully unaware of what was happening. We didn't know what was happening until some members of the King's Guard came to inform me of what had happened to the king.
How long were you in your quarters for?
I waited there until the King's Guard notified me that it was safe. I think I waited there until 3:15 p.m.
Which was around the time that Arya was arrested.
Okay.
Wait, am I supposed to press this again?
Oh wait, is this?
Am I supposed to press all of his statements again? Because I think, like, the times changed and whatnot. Yeah, it means you were in your quarters until the massacre ended. Did your guard seize Steelwind during that time?
Oh. No, they didn't. All we knew was that His Majesty had been trapped. We had no idea Lady Steelwind had been attacking people. It's clear that the High Speaker wasn't one of the patron's targets. They made no attempt to direct my daughter there.
There was a very small time frame between Sybil's death and Arya's attack on the prayer room. The details of his testimony could make a huge difference depending on when each event happened. I needed to see if he remembered the exact time each part of his testimony occurred. Oops. I'm going to press these again. Usually say, okay. Plays down, okay. Let's read this. Still before 2:15. There's something on. Must have been Sybil's body. Okay. 2 minutes trying to speak with her. It must have been a short exchange then.
The patron was controlling her at the time. They must have been hoping that he would leave if she ignored him.
But wouldn't it have been easier just to just murder him then and there? She could have easily done it quickly and thrown his body into the lake, just like she did with Sybil. Oh, nothing other. Make my way there as well. Right, and those guards are still comatose. We still don't have an explanation for that either. Okay, yeah, I've seen this before. Awfully convenient. He left right before the attack in the prayer room. There until 3:15. And I did double check that one. Oops, I didn't mean it that. Okay. Okay, alarm went off at 2:10. Here, I think this one. If he was at the balcony before 2:15, or at or by 2:15, then it couldn't have been Sybil. Because she wasn't dead.
Objection!
No? Well, that's a clear contradiction. Maybe the third one?
Objection!
That should be it. Okay, it was just I selected the wrong statement. Wait, what? Is something wrong? There is, but I'm not really sure what it means.
Stop stammering and say what you want to say.
Hi, speaker. You said that you saw Arya dumping something over the ledge of the balcony.
There is no need to be vague, Cuthbert. It's clear from the evidence that he saw my daughter dumping Lady Sybil's body.
That's the thing, Lord Steelwind. It couldn't have been Sybil's body.
What are you talking about? The location from that balcony to where we found Lady Sybil's body lines up perfectly.
That may be, but the witness just said he saw Arya dumping the body before 2:15 p.m.
Wait.
You see it too, don't you, Lucio? How did Arya dump Coraline Sybil's body into Lake Galacrond before 2:15 if her time of death was 2:18 p.m.?
I see. That does seem peculiar. But we know the defendant threw Sybil's body from that balcony. There would be no other explanation for how it ended up there.
Yes, that's also true.
Perhaps she was still alive when Arya threw her off that balcony. She could have been knocked unconscious with a sleep spell. Your Grace, there were no traces of conjuration magic on her body. And even if she was asleep, she wouldn't have survived a fall from that height. The distance from that balcony to the lake is more than 30 stories. And the autopsy report says that the cause of death was suffocation, not blunt force.
Right. So when did she die? I would think she died before she was thrown. Died while falling wouldn't make sense.
and then died after she hit the water. I mean, like, maybe she could have drowned because of the... Oh no, she still couldn't have survived that large of a fall. She did have that rock armor, but if you fall from that great a height, you need a cushion. And water is like hitting a brick wall. But yeah, I'm gonna say she died before she was thrown. The High Speaker testified that he saw Arya dumping the body before 2:15 p.m. Was he mistaken? Perhaps the time was later than he'd thought. No, Celeste began fighting Arya at 2:20 p.m. If the High Speaker saw her dumping Sybil at 2:18, he would never have been close enough to hear the fight break out. Or he would have been close enough to hear the fight break out. He could have only died after Arya dumped her off the ledge. But when did she die? Like after she hit the water? You're telling me that she survived that fall, and then, I mean, the rock armor weighing her down could have made her drown, if that would count as suffocation. But oh, but she had Featherfall. Or whatever it's called. I forgot about that. She had Featherfall or whatever. Okay, she died after she hit the water. She must have died after she hit the water. Mr. Cuthbert, Lucio just said she would have died upon impact. But that's assuming she didn't do anything to lessen the blow. She might have had the opportunity to cast a spell to protect herself. That might explain why her body wasn't as damaged, despite falling from such a great height.
Objection!
Again, that doesn't match with the evidence. Lady Sybil's spell compendium contains the spell Slow Fall. If she had the opportunity to cast a spell, he would have used that spell to slow her descent. And she wouldn't have taken any damage from hitting the lake if she'd done that. Wait. That's right. Was there races? Okay. Transmutation, evocation, and necromancy. The necromancy is from healing herself. Transmutation and evocation. Slow fall. Adura. That's transmutation. And evocation would be firebolt? Could have been Steel Wind Strike, maybe? No, there would have been damage somewhere else. Shatter. I wonder if Arya maybe tried to shatter her to get through the rock armor? Oh wait, who had that? Oh darn it, I forget who had shatter. Oh, Beatrice had shatter.
Wait, where's Arya's spell coming in? Oh, there it is. Yeah, she does not have Shatter. Okay. But I imagine she would have taken some damage from hitting the lake, even if she used slow fall, because of the rock armor, making her heavier than normal. That's a really good point. But just indulge me for a second. Which spell was cast on Sybil? Stone Skin. Yes. I think Lloyd must have cast Stone Skin on her. Stone Skin? If you recall, the High Speaker mentioned that something was strange about the object Arya threw over the balcony. It was much darker and didn't match with Sybil's usual garb. Almost as if there was something else Sybil was wearing. That object was actually Lady Sybil, protected by a layer of stone. Lloyd cast Stone Skin on her before she was thrown into the lake. Arya must have attacked them, and Lloyd must have cast that spell to protect her. That coward. I'd have imagined he'd simply worry about protecting himself. But I'll admit that spell would have protected her from the Steel Wind strike. No? But that doesn't seem quite right. What do you mean? I may not have seen much, but I saw that the object Arya dumped was stiff and motionless. If it had been Lady Sybil, she would have been struggling against her, wouldn't she? Yeah, Arya has Hold Creature. Let's see, Hold Creature. Oops. There it is. Huddle. Caster completely restricts the movement of the target. You have to point at the target and it's while concentrating. Even subtle movements such as the gestures required to cast certain spells are impossible. Also unable to move their mouth to speak. Okay, so then she concentrated. And again, if we assume that suffocation counts as drowning, or drowning counts as suffocation, that would work. But still, you're telling me that with the Stone Skin, she wouldn't have been able to cast Slow Fall. So she fell 30 stories while covered in stone and heavier than normal. She hit the water that would be like hitting cement at high speed. And she didn't die? Well, I guess the Stone Skin is magic, so I don't know, maybe it magically absorbs impact or something. Okay. It's magic, they don't gotta explain shit. Although it's sort of funny, if that's what happened, we've got the magic barrier cube that is impervious to harm, but also allows oxygen in. Which, I don't know, it leans more toward not just magic, but like physics. And then we just have this, which is just straight up magic. Alright. I just find it sort of funny. It's like two different systems of magic, almost. One that deals with physics magic, and one that's just fantasy magic. Anyway. Everyone's struggling against her. That's a good point, too. The High Speaker saw Arya dumping a motionless Sybil, but if we assume my logic is correct, he would have also still been alive. Why was Sybil motionless despite being conscious? Why wasn't she struggling against Arya? Sybil was affected by a spell. She must have been affected by a spell. And considering it kept her from resisting Arya, the patron must have made Arya cast that spell on her. Which spell did she cast on Sybil? Hold creature. Bottle. It was hold creature. Lloyd must have cast stone skin on Sybil when Arya attacked them. The patron must have known that Arya couldn't physically damage her like that, so they ordered her to restrain Sybil with that spell. But Sybil died by suffocation. That's right, Lucio. How did Sybil suffocate? Even if she was restrained, Sybil was still protected by stone skin. That would have left only one option for the patron. Sybil drowned in Lake Galacrond. Man, I don't think she's gonna be somehow alive. Man, what a tragedy. Lloyd finally did something right, and yet the stone skin is probably what ended up killing her, because it would drag her down. Otherwise, she might float. Sybil suffocated when Arya threw her into Lake Galacrond. Her stone skin lessened the impact of the fall, but it also made her drop like a literal rock. Arya's hold creature spell prevented her from moving, and since Lloyd stayed in the common room, he didn't know his spell was signing her death warrant. Bruh. He was helpless as she sank to the bottom of the lake. What a tragedy. I believe that covers all three of the murders, then. Yes. Lord Von Sanctus suffocated to death in his own force cave. Lady Sybil drowned after Arya cast Hold Creature on her. And Lord Pierce died after being wounded by a blade created with Shape Liquid. The only common thread I see is that the patron knew how to use his victims' spells against them. But how did that connect to Pierce? Did he cast Shape Liquid to make a blade to defend himself? Maybe the murderer took it from him and used it to deal the final blow. No, but he was knocked unconscious alongside me. He couldn't have been the one to create that blade. Anyway, whoever did this had an in-depth knowledge of each of the spells they used to defend themselves. They knew that Von Sanctus couldn't dispel his own force cage. They also knew that he still needed oxygen from within it. And in Sybil's case, they knew Arya couldn't physically harm her once she had stone skin active. They also knew that Hold Creature would prevent Sybil from moving while she sank to the bottom of the lake. Not only that, they did all of this in a quick time frame.
Von Sanctus and Sybil died within 13 minutes of each other. And if Arya hadn't encountered Celeste, Pierce might have died just as quickly.
So whoever did this had an in-depth knowledge of high-level magic. Not only that, they came up with creative ways to bypass the defenses put up by Von Sanctus and Sybil. Yes, they had the ability to react quickly and decisively. But considering the circumstances, that hardly narrows it down. Several members of the four pillar families were present that day. Each and every one of them studied at the Imperial Academy. They would all be knowledgeable in magic and its applications.
What they were saying wasn't sitting right with me for some reason. There was something there. So why couldn't I see it? But there's another angle to this. Consider who the patron did and didn't target. Similar about some of the targets. The victims were Lloyd Von Sanctus, Coraline Sybil, and Garrick Pierce. What's a similarity that we can draw between at least two of them? Sybil and Von Sanctus are friends.
What if...
Are house leaders. Yeah, Sybil and Von Sanctus are house leaders of pillar families. Von Sanctus and Sybil were the heads of their respective noble houses.
Are you saying the patron's goal was to assassinate leaders of the four pillars?
That's the motive that makes the most sense. But that does leave one question.
Don't be coy. I'm not daft, Cuthbert.
Actually, I highly doubt it was you.
Really now.
Out of most of the people there, you could have easily tricked your daughter into signing a blood contract. But why would you need to do that? You're the Grand General of Wyvern Guard's military, and the cathedral was filled with your men. You could have easily equipped one of your best mages to carry out this massacre. And you wouldn't even need to make a deal with the demon to do so.
So why wasn't Lucio targeted then?
From our encounter with Celeste, it's clear there's a limit to Arya's combat capabilities. The patron might have simply doubted Arya's ability to defeat the Grand General, but there's also another explanation. Why didn't the patron target Lucio Steelwind?
What if...
And to frame House Steelwind? Make them suffer using Arya? Patron wanted to frame House Steelwind using Arya. No? Well, yeah, I didn't make any attempt to kill Lucio because that would make sense if they want to frame him. Okay, no, the patron made no attempt to kill Lucio Steelwind. And when they were controlling Arya, they didn't make any attempt to hide her actions. They wanted people to see her.
What if...
Huh?
Maybe.
Oh. For the murders? Alright. Semantics. The patron wanted people to suspect House Steelwind for the murders. They used Lucio Steelwind's daughter to commit the crime. Then they intentionally left him alive to cast suspicion on him.
That's why they used my daughter?
What was that tinge of anger just now? Man, it's almost like this guy actually cares. Anyways, that leads me to my next point. Imagine if we never discovered Arya's blood contract with the Empress of Discord. What would have happened?
We'd still think that Miss Steelwind succumbed to Mage Blight. He would have been convicted for the murders, and trust in House Steelwind would be forever diminished.
About a month ago, House Frege lost the Duke of Finance, and his successor, Leife Frege, was woefully unprepared to take his place. Now the heads of Von Sanctus and Sybil, heads of House Von Sanctus and House Sybil, are dead, with House Steelwind being held responsible for it all. All 4 of the Pillar families would have been weakened as a result of the massacre. But I think there's another layer to this. Everything fits together if we assume that the patron's goal was to weaken the Pillar families. Except for the murder of Garrick Pierce.
Yes. In contrast to Sybil and Von Sanctus, Pierce's political power pales in comparison.
Furthermore, Pierce was already scheduled to be executed next month for the murder of Flintheart McCoy. Why did the patron target Garrick Pierce? Why would the patron go to the trouble of murdering a condemned man? Patron... knew the identity of Celeste's parents? Okay. No, Pierce was going to die regardless of what the patron did. There has to be something the patron did recently. Something that made the patron decide to murder him as soon as possible. Pierce... Oh, because Pierce knew the identity. Yeah. The patron murdered Pierce because they needed him to die as quickly as possible. Pierce knew the identity of Celeste's biological parents. My parents? Do you remember what Pierce said when we showed up for the meeting? Ah, you finally arrived. I suppose this means you finally decided... What? You too? We got your letter. Letter? What letter? Sent us a letter, Pierce. It said that you knew who Celeste's parents were. I did send that letter, but not to you. We weren't the intended recipients of that letter. That's right. So that leaves one last question. Who did Pierce originally send that letter to?
What if?
The patron. There's only one person Pierce could have sent that letter to. The person who orchestrated the massacre in the first place. The patron.
But that means...
The patron is someone who would be threatened by Celeste's parentage.
Order! Order in the court!
But I don't understand. I'm sorry. I know this is a lot to take in, but I think they were targeting you for some reason. Pierce knew the identity of Celeste's parents and attempted to blackmail the patron with this. Instead of complying with Pierce's demands, the patron sent this letter to me.
But why go to the trouble of luring you there? They could have just allowed Pierce to wait in the prayer room while the defendant made her way to murder him.
Looking back on it, it's possible they wanted to kill Celeste, too. What? They knew I would never meet with Pierce alone, and the information was about her. The patron correctly guessed that I'd bring her with me. By killing both Pierce and Celeste, they'd eliminate any threat Celeste would pose to them. Yeah. And I think another part of that would be to make Tyrion despair.
But who would be threatened by such information? The mere existence of McCoy posed a threat to them. It must have something to do with her birthright.
Right. So who would that leave? Okay, conversations. Hopefully it lets me check these all. Let's go with the royal family. King de Wyverngard just recently died. What if Celeste were a member of the royal family? You think I'm a princess? I don't want to suspect Aster, but we need to consider every possibility. And when it comes to conflicts of inheritance, a royal line of succession is the first thing that comes to mind. Not only that, the king would have the authority to pardon Pierce for his crimes.
But that wouldn't entirely make sense.
What do you mean?
If McCoy was abandoned at a tavern in Cornhaven, we must assume she's a bastard child.
Okay. I don't know why you have to bring that up.
My point is that King Olivier wouldn't abandon a child of pure royal blood. The kingdom requires heirs to continue the royal bloodline. He would have leveraged her in a diplomatic marriage.
That's disgusting.
That's diplomacy, Cuthbert. Anyways, even if McCoy was of royal blood, Aster is the king's eldest child, and he is of pure royal blood. McCoy would have no claim to the throne under these circumstances.
Right, I see what you mean. I suppose that eliminates Aster for now. Anyway, we should consider the other suspects first. So who would that leave? House Frege? I doubt it. I recall during Beatrice Frege's trial, we heard William Frege's last will and testament. It mentioned that House Frege's assets would be divided evenly between all of his children.
If McCoy were to be revealed as a Frege, his daughters would be legally obligated to share the estate with her.
Can I seriously be a Frege? I don't want to suspect Leife or Miriam, but we need to consider every possibility. And as we've seen, the Freges are no strangers to making deals with demons. Oh, wow. However, it still doesn't quite fit. I doubt Leife or Miriam would do something like this.
What are you basing that on?
I tend to be a good judge of character, and they just don't seem like the type to do something like this.
You're far too trusting. I hold no doubt that any of William's children would be capable of something like this.
I suppose we'll have to see. Anyways, we should consider the other suspects first. So who would that leave? House Steelwind. As much as I have my doubts, House Steelwind is the only Pillar family whose house leader survived the past month.
You think I'm McCoy's biological father?
Barely a daughter to your actual daughter, or a father to your actual daughter.
Ooh!
Rip. I'm only stating that possibility for the sake of argument. As I've said, it wouldn't make sense for you to frame your own daughter when House Steelwind would be blamed, but we need to consider every possibility. Anyways, we should consider the other suspects first.
Okay.
Who would that leave? The Eye Taker. What if the Eye Taker orchestrated this whole thing? The Eye Taker? That common criminal? What reason would he have to do this? I've heard firsthand that he was planning to expand his influence throughout Wyverngard. He was actually plotting with Beatrice to use House Frege to do so. Since I ruined his original plans, setting up this massacre might have been his backup plan. Perhaps we're looking at this all wrong. What if Celeste was a part of the royal family and they were planning to use her to take the throne? But if he wanted to do so, why would he put McCoy in danger by having my daughter attack her? Not only that, he also had the perfect opportunity to murder His Majesty. Imagine if he had placed a more lethal contingent spell in that glyph of contingency. His Majesty might have very well died along Von Sanctus, Sybil, and Pierce. I suppose you're right, but we need to consider every possibility. It's honestly all I can think of. Yes, there's a flaw with each suspect. Your logic is clearly flawed. There's something here I'm not seeing, but I know I'm close. There's a missing piece that ties this all together. Regardless, we still have no idea who or what this Empress of Discord is. I am loath to allow such an individual to walk freely through Wyverngard. Your Grace, you've been alive since the creation of Wyverngard and magic. Do you know who this demon is? I can't say I do. Demons tend to take on many titles over their lifetimes. But whoever this Empress is, they're brave to so blatantly encroach on my domain like this.
I take physical damage every time I try to voice him.
Well, I suppose we'll just have to cross that bridge when we get there.
We've obtained a lot of information today, but we clearly have many questions that need to be answered. How should we proceed?
Good question.
We have been working at this for quite a while. Perhaps we should suspend proceedings so that we can look into these new leads. I have no objections. It would give my men some time to look into what we've discovered today. But
I didn't press anything. Okay, we just skipped over Tyrion? Okay.
then it's settled. We'll be postponing proceedings for now, but you'll all be expected to return here by tomorrow morning. You're all free to return to your homes for the time being. But make no mistake, the Kingsguard will be keeping careful watch over all of you.
There was still this constant nagging sensation in the back of my mind. Hey, Tyrion? It's as if I were overlooking something extremely important. Tyrion. What was it? What could be so important, yet so difficult to remember? Tyrion! Sorry. I was thinking about everything. You're looking really stressed out. You want to head back to your house to rest? No. We only have a day until the trial resumes. If we can't figure out what happened after tomorrow, the magical traces will disappear. But you already know what happened. You just don't know who did it. We should speak with the suspects again. Maybe if I get lucky, I'll see something through the Eye of Horus. But one of the suspects is the Eye Taker. What are you going to do about him? I suppose I'll have to speak with him too. What? No! What if he tries to kill you again? That's just a risk I'll have to take. Arya's life is on the line. Tyrion, do you even understand what you've been pulled into? What? Someone just murdered a bunch of nobles, and they even attacked members of the royal family. Now there are ancient dragons and demon lords involved too. Isn't this above your pay grade? Ouch. You know that's not what I meant. It's just this whole situation is crazy, isn't it? It's fine. It's just like any of our other investigations. Not, though. What if the Empress of Discord attacks you? What if the patron decides that you're getting too close to the truth? What if I can't? Her voice broke, and her hands began to tremble. Celeste? Are you still worried about what happened during the massacre? I'm fine. I already told you that you didn't do anything wrong. You almost died, Tyrion. I know. You almost died. I know, Celeste. No, Tyrion, I don't think you do. When I saw you lying on the floor, I'm always so cocky about how I've never lost a fight. And because of that, you can't even complete that sentence. Celeste. How could I be so thoughtless? He was attacked by Arya and almost died. I'm sorry. I didn't think... Don't apologize. Just, please. Please, just leave this to Lucio and the Scaled Lord. You've done enough already. They can figure the rest of it out. And what if it's not enough? I'm not so arrogant that I think they can't do it without me. But what if they can't figure out who the patron is? Arya will spend the rest of her life in prison. What if I could have done something to prevent that? I don't care if that happens. Celeste. I don't care, Tyrion. I'll apologize to her all you want after this. But all I want is to keep you safe. And I don't know if I'm able to do that anymore. Even she seems surprised by what she said. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to... I'm really happy you're a part of my life. I know what you're saying is coming from a place of care. And I'm really sorry about how I've been worrying you so much, or worrying you lately. But you're not going to stop, are you? I'm going to talk to Lucio. What? If we're going to meet the Eye Taker again, we're bringing some knights with us. Celeste, that's hardly... Nope. You don't get a say in this. And if you're not here when I get back, I will find you. Judging from her expression, that wasn't an empty threat. Fine. Just go. You might have a point, though. Before everything happened, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to continue practicing law. Maybe I needed to consider a safer, quieter life after all this is done. I hoped she would still be a part of it. Why'd the music stop? What was I thinking about now? I couldn't stop thinking about her lips on my cheek, however brief that was. Oh, thank goodness. I was afraid something was going to happen while she was gone. Alright, Lucio's cleared it. It was surprisingly easy to convince him. Oh.
The smooth, jazzy music.
Are you okay? I'm fine. Let's not waste any more time. I had to get my face out of her eye line. I just quickly walked past her. Hey, don't walk so far ahead. I needed to stay focused on the trial for Arya's sake. But when this was all over, I'd have to say those words to her. Well, I suppose I didn't have to think about that until then.
Alright. Alright. You know, I think I'm gonna have to call it early there. I've been going too hard trying to make these voices. Rathalion and Maranath and that kind of stuff tears up my throat. Yeah, trying to get that scratchy noise. So I think it's a good stopping point. And I'll try and continue this next Sunday. But yeah, gonna end stream there today. We should be getting back to, well, yeah, we should be having a pretty normal schedule this week, hopefully. Had to do a bunch of work outside these past 3 days, so I've just been sort of sapped of energy to not really feeling like streaming. But this week, that shouldn't happen. So tomorrow should be Honkai 3rd. Still in part 2, chapter 1. Tuesday, I want to finish up Tevi DLC. And Thursday, I'm thinking to start Little Noah, I think the Sign of Paradise? Yeah. And then Friday, hopefully we can finally get back to doing some Trails from Zero. Let's see. In the meantime, if anybody's interested in my social medias, there's links for Discord, Twitter, Blue Sky, and YouTube. They're in the chat. You can always find those links in the About section of my Twitch or underneath the socials banner. And for anybody watching the VOD on YouTube, if you're ever interested in watching live, there will be a link in the video description to my Twitch. I think that's about everything then. Yeah, thank you all for being here. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, night, whatever, wherever you are. Great rest of your weekend. And I'll see you around. Bye-bye.